All right, let's talk about a name you might not know, but whose ideas have echoed for centuries. Abdul Karim al-Jili. We're talking about a 14th century mystic, often called the Philosopher of Sufism. His thoughts on God, the universe, and our own potential, well, they're just as mind-blowing today as they were back then. But his most famous idea, the one we're going to unpack, is a real puzzle. So who was this guy and what in the world did he mean by
The perfect man? That right there, that question is the whole ballgame. In Arabic, it's al-Insān al-Kāmil. And it's not just an idea, it's his entire legacy, packed into 2 words. It's part deep philosophical puzzle, part spiritual roadmap. And you know what? In this explainer, we're going to crack it open together.
Okay, so to get a handle on this incredible concept, we've got to get to know the man behind it. And here's the thing. Al-Jili is a bit of an enigma. He's this absolute giant in Islamic mysticism, right? But his own life story? It's kind of filled with shadows and a lot of unanswered questions.
And what's so wild is that for someone this important, his work was kind of forgotten for a long time. I mean, we're talking about a legacy that was neglected for centuries, with so many of his writings just lost to the sands of time. So our journey to understand him, it feels less like we're just reading a history book, and a lot more like we're solving a mystery.
So, where do we start? Well, we follow the clues. And what we find is that his life wasn't just, a series of dates and places. It was this relentless, globe-trotting quest for divine truth.
And this timeline really maps out his incredible journey. So, he's born near Baghdad. But get this, by the time he's 20, he's already on the road. And you see that point right there? 796 AH, or 1394 AD? That's when he lands in Yemen. That's a huge turning point, the moment that would pretty much define his entire spiritual path. After that, he heads to Cairo, the intellectual hotspot of the era, where he teaches and finishes his most important works before his life finally comes to an end.
And just look at the map this journey creates. From his home in Iraq to Persia, then all the way over to India, where he's engaging with totally different spiritual traditions. He makes the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, and then he settles for a while in Egypt. I mean, this was not tourism, folks. This was a quest. Every single stop added another layer to his understanding. It made him a truly global intellect of his time.
But out of all those places he visited, one stands out: Yemen. It was there, in the city of Zabid, that he met his spiritual guide, his sheikh, Sharaf al-Din al-Jabarti. And that relationship? It became the absolute bedrock of his entire mystical journey. It shaped pretty much everything he would write from that point on.
Okay, so that's the journey. Now let's see how all of that travel, all that searching, poured into his work. What did he actually leave behind for us? Well, an incredible amount of writing, and it all seems to point back to one central masterpiece.
I mean, the man was just astonishingly prolific. We know the titles of more than 30 of his books, and they covered everything: theology, philosophy, even poetry. He basically poured an entire lifetime of learning onto the page. But here's the really tragic part. The vast majority of those books, they're gone, lost to time. They're basically ghosts now, just titles we see listed in old manuscripts with their actual contents vanished forever. And that, of course, makes the handful of books that did survive all the more precious. And this image really drives that point home, doesn't it? On the left, you see the start of this long list of his many works. But on the right, that's the entry for the one book that truly defined him, the one that survived and cemented his legacy for all time.
And it's no exaggeration. As the source itself puts it, al-Insān al-Kāmil, or The Perfect Man, is one of the most famous Sufi books of all time. This is his magnum opus. It's the key that unlocks his entire philosophy, and it's the answer to that big question we started with.
All right, so we've got the book, but how in the world do we actually read it? See, to unlock al-Jili's ideas, you can't just pick it up like a modern textbook. You have to learn to speak his language, the language of the mystic. And the key, the absolute #1 thing to get, is symbolism. Al-Jili, like a lot of Sufi masters, used what our source calls al-Ramziyya. He basically believed that the deepest truths about God, about reality, you can't just state them plainly. It's impossible. You can only hint at them, using things like poetry, metaphors, and allegories. So you got to see his writing as a kind of divine code.
Think about it like this. His work is not a direct manual for your brain, it's more like a mystical poem for your heart.
He isn't just stating facts for you to memorize. He's using symbols to try and spark an experience inside of you. It's not meant to be taken literally, it's meant to be contemplated, to be felt, to let the meaning just sort of bloom inside you.
And here is a perfect taste of his style, inspired by one of his poems. If you thirst for the drink of love, know that the soul is its cupbearer. See what he does there? He doesn't just say, hey, this soul is important for love. No, he paints this beautiful, powerful picture of thirst, a divine drink, and the soul as the one serving it. That's the language of mysticism. It speaks in images, not just in plain words.
Okay, so now we have the key. We understand the man, we've traced his journey, and we've learned his symbolic language. We are finally ready. It's time to unlock the meaning of his most important idea.
So, after all that, what is the perfect man? Well, al-Jili breaks it down for us in 3 incredible layers. First, he's the divine mirror. This is a human being whose soul has become so pure that it perfectly reflects all of God's names and attributes, like mercy, wisdom, power, you name it. Second, he is the microcosm. Now, this is a huge idea. It means this person literally contains the realities of the entire cosmos within themselves. Think about that. The stars, the oceans, even the angels, all of it exists inside this one person. And finally, number 3, he is the ultimate example. For al-Jili, the real-world flesh-and-blood embodiment of this ideal is the Prophet Muhammad, who serves as the ultimate model for all of humanity's spiritual potential.
And you have to understand, this isn't just some abstract philosophical concept for him. For al-Jili, the perfect man is the whole point. He's the very reason creation exists in the first place. He is the bridge, the essential link that connects our material world to the divine. Without him, the two would just remain separate.
And that brings it all right back to us, here and now. Al-Jili's idea isn't just some fascinating piece of 14th century philosophy, it's a challenge. It's a vision of what a human being can ultimately become. And it leaves us with one last big question to ponder. Is that journey, that search for our own perfection, still possible for us today?